Okay, so I decided I needed to do a video of modifying this press. Now this one's sitting down because I already unhooked the springs from it and stuff, but I'm going to show the fault of this press right off the beginning. See these two bolts right here? You got one there, and you got one there. Now they ride in slots, right? So a typical slot would say, well, then it shouldn't be a regular bolt. So what I did today is I went to the hardware store and I bought carriage bolts. These are 3/8 by 1 inch carriage bolts. If I drop that into the hole, the bolt can't spin in that slot. So that's a plus. Alright, so that's going to be the first step of this one, is I'm going to be taking out this bolt and this bolt. Now if you look at it on the back side, kind of hard to do because I got this thing down, they're actually drilled and tapped through this backing plate. Well, where does that cause a problem? You can't adjust the press. That's where the problem is. You just can't adjust the press. You have to have your T-bar, which is this long thing they send to you when you buy your press, to adjust these. Alright, that's kind of a hard way to do it. When you're trying to make your screen come down and be level to your platen, and you got to be able to get in there with your screen in place to be able to adjust these, is just totally wrong. It's just a bad design. So I'm going to change out all of these bolts. I'm going to just go to that backing plate where it's threaded and drill it out so that the bolt goes all the way through. Then on the back side, of course, I'm going to put a locking washer or a regular washer. It's just a regular 3/8 inch nut, which, by the way, these are 3/8 inch bolts. So thankfully they didn't weld nuts onto the back of this. They just threaded that plate, which makes it easier to drill. Now once that part's done, what I'm going to be doing, and I will try to get this all on video, is these two pieces right here. They just spin freely, and you can't lock your screen in them very well. Actually, you can't lock your screen in them at all because they move. Once the screen's locked down, they move. So what I'm going to do is, I got these mending plates from Lowe's. They were, I don't know, $3.59 a piece or something like that. Once I get those bolts changed out, I'm going to take these mending plates and I'm going to weld them in place. So they'll be welded coming down on top. I'll get as many welds on each one as I can, so that will be a solid plate. Because that's a plus, okay? That right there is an automatic upgrade. However, it's not enough, because I found when I lock my screen in and I get it set to my platen, I let my screen down, I get everything all set, I get it all tightened down, I put my screen back up, and everything changes. Everything changes. Because you know why? Let me show you. You got this blue coated finish on the bottom down here, right? That blue coated finish doesn't have any grip to it, so the screen is allowed to move around. Even when these clamps are as tight as you can possibly make them, the screen will move around on this blue coating. So my answer to that, again, a trip to Lowe's, was to go and buy non-skid tape, tread tape. This is 2 inches wide. I guess I probably don't need to go the full 2 inches wide to be able to make that work, but it'll be there. And I'm probably going to take that same tape, and after I weld this, I'm going to put it on this top side as well. So when I lock that screen in, that screen's not moving. That's a plus, okay? Now, one of the other things about trying to be able to register this press, which everybody's complained about, is that you have these bearings down here. This is where this bar at the bottom, you can't really see it because of the lighting in here, but this bar right here behind my hand locks in between those two bearings to center your screens. And then you have this bolt down here that says, okay, this is the height of where you're going to be. The problem I have with that is that it doesn't always leave your screen sitting level. It may lock in really well. Actually, on this fourth press, it does lock in really well, which I was surprised with. But it doesn't always lock in really well, and lock in square is what I'm trying to get at. Oh, you can change the angle of your platen. That's always a possibility. This one here, I didn't change anything. This one here, so that's just the way it was the day I brought it home. And the screen, actually, I got a 230 screen on there right now. With that bolted into the holder, that screen will actually set with the perfect amount of off contact that I need. However, by looking at this press and saying, well, what's wrong with this one? Because this one's not working. I come over to my one-man press, or my one-screen press, and lo and behold, don't you know, they use carriage bolts. Now, if you look at this one, this is like really off kilter, right? I mean, you're looking at this, it's like really high on this side and really low on that side. That's how much the platen is off on each side. You see that quarter right there in the middle? That allowed me to take this whole screen holder and turn it down a little bit. Now, that was just a step on it. There was a lot more steps invested in it. If you come back here to the back side, you see where that piece goes back? There's a dime underneath that part to hold that up higher so that actually starts to lean forward. That brings the lean forward back. But now we'll come over here and we'll go under the platen. When you go up underneath the platen, you probably can't see it because lighting's not real good in here. But right here, where my finger is, there's 2 quarters to raise the back of that platen up to be able to make it all come level. So I've got 85 cents invested in this thing just to be able to make it so I can have a screen set flat on the platen with the right amount of off contact. And that's really not the way to have to do it. So, because I don't care about that one. I'll use that one just for boxes only, and boxes don't really matter that much. But for the screens, yeah, I'm going to change this out. I'm going to be getting rid of these bolts here. There's 2 of them on each one. I'm going to drill the brackets out behind it so that they're no longer threaded. We'll drop carriage bolts into each one of these. Put a washer, a lock washer, and a nut on the back side so I can adjust these while they're in place. Right now I can't. If I put a screen in there, I cannot get a wrench on there because, like I said, they give you this long ass T-handle to reach in there to do that adjustment with. And, you know, I mean, it's a 14 millimeter. Could I reach behind my screen with a 14 millimeter wrench? Yes, I could. You know how difficult that would be? You'd have to do it with a box end, or you'd have to do it with an open end wrench. You've only got just so far to be able to run that open end wrench to be able to loosen something up or tighten something down. And believe it or not, there's just not enough room to do it no matter how many times you turn the wrench over. You just can't do it. So that was the biggest flaw with this one. Now what I will say with this one is there is not a lot of play. The bearings are all tight on it. Everything that everybody's complained about with the other blue systems that are a lot like this, I'm watching videos and I'm learning about what everybody's complaining about. This one, the bearing system is very tight. Everything's good. Nothing moves around. Nothing changes. And I assembled it myself without directions, which is kind of cool because if you buy this, you got to go on YouTube and you got to find somebody else about it too in order to figure out how to put it together. But just putting it together tells me that there's just so much wrong with this. Now this one right here is set up so that my screen will be just above the platen where it needs to be able to print a t-shirt. Okay? I have to make that same adjustment to the other 3. And when I set it up, I said, well, just drop it all the way to the bottom. It can't possibly be that much off. And they actually need to be an awful long ways to the top. But like I said, you can't adjust these. So this is the first step. I will share more video with it as I get closer to finishing the upgrades on it. I don't think I'll share anything as far as drilling the holes out where these bolts go through and changing them over to the carriage bolts. I've already showed you the carriage bolts. But yeah, I don't think these presses are all that bad. I mean, they get a bad reputation, but they're not all created equal. This one was about $235, so I'm going to say I probably got the better deal. But yeah. I'll upgrade again when I get it all put back together and we'll see how well it works. Worst case scenario, I'll start fucking figuring out how to micro tune it. Have a good day.